Well, I'll be damned. This was an announcement that I was not expecting at all. EA is apparently trying to revive the Dead Space franchise, starting with a remake and then potentially, it's just a rumor right now, and I don't like reporting on rumors unless it's a really good story, and this is a really good story. Apparently, there's rumors about a potential Dead Space 4. Now, I'm going to comment on that, but before I do, I want to talk about this remake that's apparently in development right now at EA Motive for Dead Space, the first Dead Space. This is expected to, I guess, maybe they may announce this at EA Play, which is a live event that's taking place later this month. And apparently this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to follow in the footsteps of Capcom with their Resident Evil remakes, specifically the remake of Resident Evil 2 and 3. And they're basically trying to go that direction, change a few things that's different from the original game. Obviously, update the graphics to where it's a modern graphical presentation with improved lighting, details, and with shadows in the environment and textures on the character models and the different props that's in the game world, and improvement to different effects that's supposed to support the actual environment of the game, such as like steam or smoke. The first Dead Space had quite a bit of that as far as the level design goes. So ultimately, like the remake, some people are not in support of this. Some people think because this is EA, this is Electronic Arts. Some people think that Dead Space is, first of all, it's not old enough, and second of all, they just want to make something that's quick so they can make some easy money, probably throw some microtransactions up in there. I honestly don't understand, people like some of these people that are in the comments right here on GameSpot. I really don't understand some of these people. It's one thing to be a fanboy and to just be a blind shill, and then it's another thing to be a Black Knight who is just, everything sucks, Everything that comes out of the video game industry is garbage now. There's not a single good game anymore. That's the other thing, that's the other side that I've never really supported. I've always been, well, not always, but over the last several years, I've found myself like in the middle, realistically. Most of the games that come out of the video game industry are trash now, but you'll never hear me say that every idea or every announced project is just trash, because that's simply not true, for one. And for two, if I was that sour on the industry, I wouldn't even be playing video games, let alone, making videos about them. So, that's just the other side of the spectrum that I've never been in support of. But, there are people out there that are like that. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what company it's from. It doesn't matter what the IP is. They always have something fucking negative to say. And it's kind of annoying, dealing with people like that. Because, again, it's just objectively not true that everything that's announced is going to turn out to be shit. And I go by, personally, a company's track record. If a company has a bad track record, like Square Enix, for example, then yeah, I'm not going to make something that's positive in spirit. If I make a video talking about one of their most recent, one of their most recently announced games, I'm just not going to do that, because it objectively doesn't make any sense to do that. But if I'm talking about, say, a company like Insomniac or Sucker Punch or Atlas, then yeah, I'm going to be more optimistic about games from those companies, because those companies have a good track record. It's really that simple. When it comes to Electronic Arts, I understand the grievances that a lot of people have with the Electronic Arts, but realistically, Electronic Arts has, made some improvements in certain areas. I'm not saying that they've made a complete 360. I think what they've done or what happened with the whole Anthem situation is still bullshit to this day. On that level, they definitely should not be trusted. But then I also look at other areas as to how, like, Electronic Arts did improve Star Wars Battlefront 2 after releasing a game that was just infested with loot boxes and microtransactions. After enough criticism, and yeah, the government had to step in, and EA had to really dial back after that. But they did turn that game around, like big time. They got rid of all the loot boxes and shit. They added new playable characters, plenty of new playable characters. They added plenty of new planets for the community to experience. They added new single player content, and a lot of it. They made some of the multiplayer modes in that game available for offline play. I mean, at that point, I can continue, beating a dead horse and complaining about spilled milk, but if the game has been improved, does that deserve some level of recognition? Personally, I think it does. And then they went and they made, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is objectively a good game. It's great in some areas, even. Not perfect. It does have issues, but ultimately, they gave people what they wanted. You asked for a single player Star Wars game that's heavy in Jedi lightsaber combat and action. They gave you what you wanted, and then they gave you more than what you wanted, because that game was like a Metroidvania type of experience. So I'm seeing improvements with them, and EA Motive. Their last game was Star Wars Squadrons, and that was a decent game as well. Them announcing that they're potentially making they're trying to remake Dead Space. I think it's a good idea, and the reason it's necessary is because Dead Space. And I've seen plenty of comments that the Dead Space remake, Dead Space doesn't need a remake. Fucking GameSpot right here. This is one of the dumbest articles that I've come across in recent memory that's gaming related. Dead Space doesn't need a remake, but here's how it could benefit from one. And all this is really talking about is the changes that they can make from the original, and that can improve on what the original game was. And the thing about that is, I don't think Dead Space really needs to be changed that much, if at all. That's not the reason why the remake is necessary. The reason why a remake to Dead Space is necessary is because if EA is really considering, rebooting the series and either making a Dead Space 4 or just completely wiping the slate clean and just making a new game within the series, then they need to, find a way to bring in new players who didn't play any of the older games. And for two, they need to, strike up some goodwill with the older fans who, are already established and know what Dead Space is all about. But, we're extremely disappointed with Dead Space 3, which is a game that came out going on, almost 8 years ago, if not. Actually going on 9 years ago at this point. And so they need to find a way to revitalize the IP, that's been dead for a long time. The best way that you can really do that is through a remake, a modern day remake that reintroduces that IP to the modern gaming audience. So they have a really good opportunity here to do that. That's part of the reason why I'm in support of a remake to Dead Space. But another thing is that Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, both of those games are actually within my top 20 video games of all time. Like, they're within my top 20 list. of all time. And there's a really good reason for that. You know, they're extremely well made survival horror games. Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2 are almost flawless. You know, those games are extremely well designed, from the combat to not so much the story, but, you know, really like the gameplay and the level design and the pacing and the graphics for, you know, what they were at the time. They're extremely effective survival horror games. And they're some of the best horror games that I've experienced in this medium, period. And so I would love to see Dead Space make a comeback. And, you know, like I said, they have a great opportunity here. And they even have a template of how to make a proper remake, thanks to Capcom's work on the Resident Evil remakes. Even with Resident Evil 3, with, you know, what didn't work about that remake, they can take that at, you know, the reception that game got, which was nowhere near as strong, nowhere near as potent as Resident Evil 2. You know, they can take that criticism to heart, you know, realize that people don't want you to take content that was in the original game and remove it for the remake. Just keep it all in there and just remake it as it was. If you want to shift some enemies around or even remove an enemy type, maybe add a new enemy type, you know, that's fine, but don't just cut a large portion of the game out for basically no reason. Like I said, I'm very much in support of the remake. Now, as far as a Dead Space 4 goes, a potential Dead Space 4, the only thing I have to say to that is they do not need to make a co-op game. Do not make a co-op game if you're going to make a Dead Space 4. Because a co-op survival horror game has proven time and time again that that particular idea just does not work. It didn't work in Resident Evil 5. It didn't work in Resident Evil 6. It didn't work in Dead Space 3. It just doesn't work. The main reason is because if you have another person with you, if you have a partner, you know, given be it an actual player or the CPU controlling a character on screen, if you have a partner that's with you, then all of a sudden, you know, the tension is gone and the horror atmosphere is just ruined from that point because you have a buddy with you the entire game. So there's nothing to be afraid of. And so that just really doesn't work. And another thing that I think would work quite a bit, depending on like the execution, is if they do make a Dead Space 4, I think they should move it in a more psychological horror direction. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be like a third-person shooter, you know, like most other classic survival horror games. They should definitely do that, but, you know, story-wise and plot-wise, I think it should be more psychological. And we had glimpses of that in Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3, but they didn't really go far enough with the idea. Like I said, this is the best announcement that I've heard in, well, it's not really an announcement because it hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but this is some of the best news that I've seen in the gaming industry for quite some time. To me, this is far better than anything that was announced at E3. I'm in full support of EA trying to bring back Dead Space. You know, that's one of the best IPs ever to come out of the video game industry. And so I'm eagerly just remaining optimistic and cautious at the same time because I do want this announced. I want this to be true. My fingers are crossed, and like I said, I trust EA Motive to deliver a good experience, a quality experience, and remake Dead Space without, you know, disrespecting the original audience. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. If this is truly authentic, then yeah, like I said, I'm in full support of this, and I wish the project and the development team the best. Something I don't get to say too often up on here. Now, for anyone who has any thoughts about the potential Dead Space remake, just post in the comments below, and we can have a discussion on it.